Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it will be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! So, after my first encounter with an entitled parent around 10 years ago, I hoped I would never meet one again. Then it happened last week. Okay, so some backstory first. The entitled mother is my mom's friend. She went through a divorce and needed a place to stay for a few nights until she got an apartment. Everything went well and I didn't mind her and her kid crash in our home since they didn't make a mess and helped around the house. Now I admit I'm a bit of a hype beast, and I have a lot of shoes and clothes that have cost me around 7k euros, so pretty understandable that I only let my friends and family in my room. I have a blue IKEA bag full of clothes and one pair of shoes that I was going to sell. This will be important later. Okay, so on to the actual story now. She told us that she found an apartment, and that she will be leaving the next morning. Day passes, but in the evening after dinner, all hell breaks loose. She says, "Wait, so what's so important in your room that you still haven't let us in there?" "Oh, there is a lot of expensive shoes and clothes that I'm very protective over, since I have a lot of money in them." "Oh, my baby is also into shoes. Can you let him look around in there? He will not touch anything. He just wants to look. Right, baby?" "Yes, mommy." "Okay, fine, but do not touch anything, okay?" "Of course." I let him in and he actually keeps his promise. Doesn't touch anything and is all around behaving well. Then he notices a blue bag in the corner of my room. "What's in that?" "Oh, that's some clothes I'm selling tomorrow." I showed the innocent kid everything in it. Sean Witherspoon Air Max 97, an off-white Mona Lisa t-shirt, a few Cos figurines, a pair of off-white socks and a grey Supreme Box logo hoodie, and props to you if you know all of these. The innocent kid looking really interested in the items. "Wow, these are really so expensive. How much are you asking for them?" 2,000 euros. The entitled mother heard the conversation. 2,000 euros for some clothes? Well, yes, some of these items are really limited and thus really expensive. No clothes cost that much. You're scamming people into buying these. What? I'll take them for like 100 euros and you're lucky I'm not calling the police. At this point something clicked in my head, and I just said inside my head, "Oh my god, I'm gonna hate my life in a few seconds." Me dumbfounded, I say, is I just said some of these are limited and... Don't start with me that bullcrap. You are a scammer and I will call the police on you. At this point my mom had heard everything and asked what was going on in here. "Your son is trying to scam me and my precious boy." "Excuse me, what the hell?" My mom knows and asks them to get their stuff and leave immediately. And now skip to next morning. I have pretty much forgotten about the whole thing, but when I wake up, the blue IKEA bag is gone. At this point, all I can think of is how did she get it? And what the hell I'm telling the buyer who was supposed to buy them tomorrow? I go downstairs to the kitchen and ask my mom if she knows anything. My mom said, the entitled mother showed up at 5 AM today and said that in all the fighting, her kid thing fell into my room and she wanted to come pick it up. My parents' room is downstairs, so my mom said she could pick it up and went back to bed. We knew her new address and it was a 15-minute drive from our home. We ring her doorbell, she opens up and on the ground is a blue IKEA bag. We immediately start yelling at her at how entitled and stupid she was for thinking she could get away with it. What she said next left me standing still for a good 10 seconds to contemplate what I just heard. The end of the conversation went something like this. Mom yells, "You have no right to take my son's stuff. Hand everything back now or we will call the police." "I don't see any problem here." He said he was selling them anyway. I left 100 euros on his drawer. Nope. I whispered to my mom that we should just leave and come back with the police. Not even 30 minutes go by and we are back. This time with the police. We knock on the door and she looks surprised we're back. After some conversation going back and forth between all of us, the police tell her, "You are under arrest for theft." I paid for these clothes. Still, nope. He's lying. The police officer is having none of it. He tells her, "Return the stolen property immediately or we will force you to return them." I paid, so I own these clothes. Arrest him for trying to steal my clothes. I think the policeman knew she wouldn't budge, so he handcuffed her and put her in a car to wait. He went inside and found all of the stolen goods on their sofa. Thank God. Her son was at the school, so nothing was even opened. It turns out she had cocaine in her pocket when she got arrested. So after all, she got 2 years of probation and a lot of community service. Now for the juicy part. Just 2 days ago, she climbed on our roof and broke into my room through my window with a hammer. Everyone woke up and she got arrested again. This time she didn't get off so easily. She got 6 years in prison for violating probation and for trespassing and breaking into someone's home. I got the 2,000 euros for the goods the same day and told the buyer the whole story. We had a good laugh at that point. Haven't heard from the kid again. Most probably he is with his dad. Also, if you wondered why my dad wasn't a part of this story, he is on a business trip in China and is coming back in 2 weeks. Backstory. When I was in the 3rd to 5th grades, ages 10 to 12, if I'm remembering correctly, my mom, myself and my little brother lived in Michigan. We were just outside of Detroit in a town so small, our schools were in a different city. At the time, my mother was still married to my bio dad, and we were living with one of her boyfriends. For the sake of the story, let's call him Jerkwad. When we first moved to Michigan, we lived in Jerkwad and his brother, who we will call Worthless and Worthless family home. Worthless was an ex-sailor for the Navy and a big. He would spend the entire day just laying out on the couch watching TV or pushing my brother and I off of our gaming consoles. Eventually, my mother convinced Jerkwad they needed their own space, and we moved into a rather nice trailer park. This setup. We lived in our new trailer for half a year before both my mother's brother moved in with us, and so did Worthless. Since she was letting her own brother live with us, she didn't argue, and we were once again giving up our couch to him. After another 6 months, however, my uncle moved in with a girlfriend and my mother was pushing at Jerkwad to get Worthless to move out as well since he creeped her and myself out. There were a number of incidents leading up to my mom's revenge. 1. Again, Worthless was constantly pushing my brother and I off our game consoles and would erase over-saved games. A glaring offense now in my 20s, but when I was 10, I would pitch a fit like no other. 2. When my uncle moved out, Worthless tried to muscle his way into the empty room. My mom put her foot down and gave me the room since I was hitting puberty and she felt I shouldn't be sharing a room with my brother anymore. I'm a girl for the record. 3. My mom had a small chihuahua/wiener dog minx. It was mean as hell and snappy. Worthless had a big mutt mix of unknown breeds. Despite hating each other, Mom's dog somehow ended up pregnant by the big dog. It cost my birthday money that year to get the puppies out and have the dog fixed. The vet told my mom her dog would have died if she tried to carry it to term, never mind give birth. Nature aside, my mom still insists he must have had a hand in it. 4. There was an ice cream truck that came around and my mom would give us what little pocket money she had so we could get something like once a month. Worthless would take our money once mom was at work, tell us stupid children to not get ice cream, and pocket the money for himself. Eventually, mom figured out when he would give her cash to buy him beer the weekend after we got money for the truck. 5. Mom once walked in on Worthless yelling at my brother and myself about homework, throwing a calculator at my brother's head and calling me a dumb slut. I was 12 by this point. 6. A number of times he walked into my room while I was changing or sleeping and all reported to my mother, who then yelled at Jerkwad about it. Again, 12 and hitting puberty. 7 and last, my mom developed cataracts when I was in the 4th grade and couldn't drive or work until the surgery was done. Worthless refused point blank to help at all. Wouldn't clean, wouldn't drive mom around, wouldn't go shopping, so mom still had to do all of the housework while seen through, as she described it, 3 layers of grey silk. Eventually, my mom gave Jerkwad the ultimatum. He sent his brother away or she would leave. Jerkwad's answer word for word was, "And where would you go?" The revenge in the most simple terms, my mom made Jerkwad eat his words. On her next day out that Jerkwad still worked, she got a U-Haul and packed our life up. See, what Jerkwad didn't know was that my mom was talking to another man, the one she would later marry. I was already planning on leaving Jerkwad if he didn't get rid of Worthless. This was very bad for Jerkwad, since mom paid most of the bills and did all the shopping in the house. When she left, he had suddenly lost not only his second source of income, but the only person in the house who would do anything. Worthless wouldn't leave the trailer if he could get away with it and would either ignore you or complain non-stop if you asked him to help around the house. In the space of 20 minutes since she pulled up with the van, my mom had everything packed away and got us into the car, leaving Worthless in a practically empty home since 90% of the stuff belonged to my mom or us. She left the couch though, claiming she'd never get his smell out from it with how little he bathed. Jerkwad returned home from work to find only his brother, who was a waste of space and knew that it was entirely his fault. Bonus pity revenge. When my mom was packing up our consoles, Worthless was in the midst of playing one of the games. She told him to get off and he asked if he could save the game. Apparently, he hadn't realized we were planning on leaving. A little over 30 years ago, I was just out of an abusive relationship. I was 20, he was a decade older, and he was a human leech. He lived off me, and occasionally my parents for a whole year. When I finally told him to go away, he broke into my apartment, threw me into a wall, and tried to take my cat. He was truly vile. Shortly after I was shit of him, I took a job as a receptionist with a bill collector agency. This was when computers were first beginning to be used. I was told there were boxes of bills in the back that hadn't been entered, as they had gone into collection before the computers were installed. They weren't so old as to be uncollectible, but they weren't the priority. Knowing what a deadbeat he was, I used the lunch hour one day to take a look. Sure enough, he had more than $10,000 total in bills from a dozen different businesses. So I entered them all into the computer with his current contact information, including the jobs he was working, where he was being paid under the table. I assigned it to the agency's most aggressive collector. He even let me listen in on the first call he made to the guy, and it was immensely satisfying. And even better a few months later, when the ex left town to go live with his sister. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.